If you or someone you know might need a lifestyle change, you're going to want to stick around for today's episode of Wisconsin Doctors, because we're talking about two very important topics. Number one, diabetes education, and number two, healthy living. We're at Upland Hills Health, and I'll be checking in with Jackie Wilkinson, who is a registered dietitian here and also a certified diabetes educator. She's going to talk about what the importance is of educating people about this disease. And also I'll check in with Nola Endres, also a registered dietitian from Upland Hills Health here in Dodgeville. I'm Justin Riley, and this is Wisconsin Doctors. Hey folks, welcome back to Wisconsin Doctors. We're here at Upland Hills Health in Dodgeville, and we're having kind of a twofold discussion today. Number one is diabetes education, and the second part is healthy living. And I'm joined now by Jackie Wilkinson, registered dietitian here. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
And not only are you a registered dietitian, but you are a certified diabetes educator. Now I want to ask what that means, but first, can you maybe you'll cover that in your introduction, can you introduce yourself to the viewers, because this is your first time on the show?
It is, yeah. So my name is Jackie Wilkinson. I'm here, I'm a diabetes educator and a dietitian. So I see mostly patients who have diabetes and try to help manage that, help them manage that on their own at home.
Okay, and so what is it? What exactly is a certified diabetes educator?
It's a pretty cool thing.
Okay.
So I think what most people don't realize is how much work it is to manage diabetes. I mean,
Right.
You have the diagnosis of diabetes, and oftentimes you don't know what you don't know. You know, you have
Right.
15 minutes with your doctor, and they kind of tell you, hey, you have this now.
Right.
Here's a drug for you. But I mean, what does that really mean in terms of managing it at home? And that's kind of where I come in. So I can come in and I'm kind of like a coach for those people. I teach them, what they need to do to self-manage that disease at home.
Yeah, diabetes is not something that you can just manage with a pill. You have
No.
to kind of do some things at home and do some homework, so to speak.
Definitely.
So we're talking about the diabetes education program here at Upland Hills Health. Can you give us a description of what's the focus of that program?
Sure. So the program here at Upland Hills, patients have up to 13 hours to spend with myself in a calendar year, depending on kind of insurance coverage and how much education they may have had in the past. And that's something that I can kind of navigate with the patient. But it consists of one-on-one individual sessions with the patient and myself, but also group classes, which is so helpful, because oftentimes what I hear is, I just want to know how other people are managing this, or what other people have tried that also have diabetes, and that's something that I can't always answer. So those group classes, that group dynamic is super helpful for a lot of patients.
So it sounds like the group classes are more participatory, in that the individuals within the group can kind of offer their experience and what's worked for them and so forth.
Definitely, absolutely. It's almost, I've heard, it's kind of almost like a support group almost.
Yeah.
It is. But we come to each class, and each class has kind of specific topics that we go over. So we talk about things like, obviously, nutrition, considering I'm a dietitian, that has to come into play, right? Also, and it's not just about carbohydrates and things like that. We talk about all aspects of nutrition. So how to eat out at a restaurant, how to navigate the menu, how to navigate a grocery store, heart health, sodium, all kinds of things like that. But then also managing diabetes as well. So what is a high blood sugar? What is a low blood sugar? What do you do? How do you treat that? Foot care, we spend a whole hour on how to check your feet. And many people don't even realize that that's something they need to even think about.
Yes.
Managing long-term complications for diabetes. So what I tell my patients is wherever the blood flows in your body could be affected by diabetes.
Okay. And the feet are huge in terms of the risks, because edema is always a big issue, I'm assuming, and that's something that they want to be able to look out for.
Yeah, edema, but any kind, so anywhere that our blood vessels are smaller, so like in our extremities, it's much more difficult to push that sticky, syrupy blood through, and so oftentimes feet are kind of one of those things that kind of get affected.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously there's, we've talked a little bit about some things that the folks in the group classes are going to learn. We talked a little bit about nutrition. Do you talk about exercise as well in those classes?
Oh, we do. And exercise is one of those things that I think often, I always think that exercise is this bad word. You say exercise and people are like, oh, I hate exercise.
Right.
But it's so important. It's one of the big things that really helps pull blood sugars down.
Yeah.
So we do have our personal trainer. She comes to one of the classes and just does some low impact exercises with people that really show them, not so scary exercises that they can do at home.
Right. You don't have to be training for a triathlon or an Ironman or something like that. So.
Who's going to do that? Maybe you? I don't know.
I don't know about that. We'll see. Someday. On my bucket list.
Right.
We got to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to continue talking a little bit about diabetes education. And later on in the show, we're talking healthy living right here in Wisconsin Doctors at Upland Hills Health. So stick around. We're talking diabetes education here today on Wisconsin Doctors at Upland Hills Health. This is Jackie Wilkinson. She is a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator.
That's right.
And we've talked, in our first segment today, we talked a little bit about, first of all, what you do and how you help people with diabetes education, and then what specifically things are happening here at Upland Hills in terms of group education and that sort of thing, and you teach them about nutrition and exercise and all that. So let's talk about the why.
Sure.
Because obviously this has become a huge problem. I mean, there are many people who are living with diabetes who don't even know that they're living with diabetes. So talk to us about why this is so important to educate people about this.
And this is a big question. I feel like the biggest thing I get told is, I have diabetes, but who cares? Everybody
Really?
has diabetes. It's just,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. But, and really, diabetes is just a growing epidemic. And
Right.
it is really, it's serious. And I think oftentimes we gloss over how serious it is because so many people seem to have it. But about 1 in 10 Americans currently have the diagnosis of diabetes, and almost 1 in 4 don't even know they have it, which is also kind of scary, kind of walking around with elevated blood sugars. And it's important to watch those blood sugars because, again, anywhere in your body that your blood flows can be affected by those elevated blood sugars. Thinking like your eyes, your kidneys, your brain, your heart, your extremities, anywhere, your nerves, and some of that damage can't be reversed.
Right. That's unfortunate. But
It is.
So we hope to try to catch it before it gets too bad.
Exactly.
So, I'm just kind of curious you're talking about how this is an epidemic and it's growing, and the number of people who have it and don't realize it is growing as well. It's interesting to me because in our society, there's such a push for fitness and activity, and, people are exercising. I mean, gym memberships, all that stuff. What is it going to take for that to the cases of diabetes to at least taper, and so they're not growing each year?
Gosh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And if I knew.
If you knew the answer, we wouldn't be sitting here
Exactly,
right now.
exactly. Yeah, but I think just being more accountable and being more aware and really going to your doctor every year, getting your blood checked, getting some of those preventative things done can really catch it early.
Right, absolutely. And I like how you use the word accountable, because a lot of times people are just not accountable to anybody.
Exactly.
They do their own thing and they don't have to report it to anybody, and that's it.
Right.
And accountability is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of where my program comes in too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So walk me through a little bit about how, if I knew somebody or if I thought that maybe I had diabetes, how would I get to see Jackie?
Oh gosh, you can call me.
All right, okay.
But I think, first of all, going to your primary care physician, getting that checkup, really getting some blood work done, getting that diagnosis. If you think that you have elevated blood sugars, that's kind of the first place that I would go. And then in order to see me, it's a referral from your primary care physician to me.
Okay.
And it's something very simple. You can either ask your primary care physician, or you can always just call me, and it's very easy
Sure.
for me to call that physician as well.
Sure. So obviously when we sit down with our primary care provider, we're going to be talking, they're going to be asking us questions and maybe doing some tests and things like that to make sure we'd qualify. Then when we come and see Jackie, what do we do then? Are you going to ask us some of the similar questions, or is it just kind of off to the races as far as here's what you need to do? What can we expect with our first visit to you?
Sure. Well, the first visit is always going to be one-on-one. Even if somebody wants to be part of a group class, I really feel like it's important to have that one-on-one.
Sure, yeah.
And it's just going to be kind of a conversation. We sit down and just start talking. Like, what's going on? You know, how long have you had diabetes? Did you just find out? Let's talk through like what a typical day looks like for you. How much stress do you have? Just I want to get a good overview of their entire life, the whole person, not just focusing on this one thing.
Right. Now, at some point then, do you, based on all of that information, do you come up with a plan, like a comprehensive plan of how they can manage their diabetes? Is that part of the program?
That's a good question. And I think, yes, we do come up with goals, but I want to make it very clear that the participant, the patient, kind of really comes up with those goals. Me as a coach, but it's definitely goals that they themselves would like to work on.
So it's not Jackie saying, you need to do this, you need to do that.
No,
it's them kind of coming to the realization that, hey, I need to do this. This is a must for me.
Absolutely. And also coming up with realistic goals that they know that they can achieve. It's not going to be, tomorrow I'm going to run that marathon.
Right. Yeah. Run that Ironman.
That's right.
Beautiful day for an Ironman today.
Right.
Well, Jackie Wilkinson, thank you so much for being with us here today.
So much.
We've got more Wisconsin Doctors coming up after this. We're going to talk about healthy living at Upland Hills, so don't go away. Welcome back to Wisconsin Doctors. We're here at Upland Hills Health, and we've been talking about diabetes education with Jackie, and now Nola Endres joins us, and she's going to be talking about the Healthy Living Program here at Upland Hills Health. How are you, Nola?
I'm great. How are you?
Good to have you on the show here. So you're a registered dietitian, just like Jackie, but we're talking, instead of diabetes education, we're talking about healthy living, and that's a pretty broad topic. So can you just kind of give us an overview of what exactly we're focusing on here today?
The new Healthy Living program that we have, its focus is healthy living, changing habits, individualizing programs to make you be a healthier you.
Right.
And in that process, you tend to be a healthier you. A lot of people will lose weight.
Right.
And that's a big push in our country and all of our communities, because obesity has become quite a big problem.
Right.
And also all the chronic health conditions you can have when your weight is up.
Right.
So we came up with a program that's kind of encompasses all aspects.
Right.
Diet, activity, and then getting the support you need to get through this process to develop those healthy habits.
Absolutely. And I like how you mentioned that being a healthier you, and you may also lose some weight as well. Because a lot of people, when they think about being healthy, they think about losing weight as sort of the end goal. But really, that's not the end objective. That's sort of kind of a byproduct. That's something that happens along the way as a result of.
Right. Well, a lot of people will have a chronic condition, be it the diabetes like Jackie talked about. It could be hypertension. And sometimes just by going through what you normally do in your daily life, be it the stress that you have, your typical eating pattern, or your inactivity, we kind of go through, who are you? And how do we make some changes that you can live with, and those slight changes add up over time.
Yeah.
And if we can make those changes, and then gradual changes that you can live with, you're tending to stick with those for a longer period of time. And that's where we get into a lot of problems, like people go on these diets, the internet diets or whatever, and they'll lose 50, 60 pounds or whatever they wanted to lose. They'll lose those weights, and then they go back to what they were doing.
Yeah.
That weight goes on, plus another 20.
Right.
So I hear that all the time. And so when we were developing this program, we took that into account.
Right.
It isn't a quick, let's lose weight fast.
Right.
It is to make you feel good about yourself, actually healthy. You feel healthy. You're willing to go out and, I'm going to hop on that bike and go for a bike ride.
Right.
I feel like I can do that. And when you get done, you feel good.
Yeah.
So it encompasses so many aspects of our life.
Right. healthy living. And you mentioned a little bit about obesity. There is a higher prevalence of obesity. It's some people call it an epidemic. Do you have statistics on that?
Yeah, the Center of Disease Control and Prevention states the prevalence of obesity in 2015 to 2016 affected about 94 million Americans.
Wow.
That's a lot of
That's
Americans.
almost a third.
It's unbelievable.
And this isn't just being a little bit overweight, this is obesity.
This is obese.
Wow.
And so, and that just talks about the weight per se. It doesn't say all those chronic diseases that go with it.
Right.
So, people that are obese, they end up dealing more with the heart disease, the diabetes, and then all those things that go with it. So again, hopefully by trying to decrease that, at least here in our community, we can help people not have to go through all those other parts of it.
Right. Prevention is the best medicine.
It is.
What is the old saying? The ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure?
Yep.
Yep. Something like that. I think I got that the right way. So before we go to break here, obviously there's different aspects of the Healthy Living program. Let's talk a little bit about nutrition. What does the nutrition aspect entail of the Healthy Living program here at Upland Hills?
Well, initially when we meet people, or it'll be myself, I kind of like Jackie, I want to get to know you.
Right.
What do you do for your living? What is your activities? Do you work a night shift? What are you doing? What is your stress level? Because again, we want to tailor the program for you. And then once we kind of go through that, a lot of times I'll go through and we use some computer websites, things like that. We put in what people eat so they can see what they're eating. And when I'll put in, let's say, like a donut, and, and they'll look it up, and then they'll go, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And when we start adding all this up, by the end of the day, say if they have heart disease, I'll watch their saturated fat. And I want to keep it at a certain level. When they look what it is, their eyes are like, oh my goodness, did not know.
Yeah.
So we use, looking at what people consume to try to help, let's decrease this or change this, instead of just here's a diet, go home.
Right. Yeah.
It's very individualized.
Yeah. We're going to talk more about that when we come back from break here at Upland Hills Health. Don't go away. There's more after this. From diabetes education to healthy living, a really great healthy living program, I might add. We are here at Upland Hills Health, and we are learning all about those subjects today. Nola Endres is a dietitian here, registered dietitian here at Upland Hills. And before the break, we were kind of talking a little bit about what all is included with this healthy living program that you offer here at Upland Hills Health. And one of the things that you brought up is you try to put in a bunch of different small behavioral changes at first to, it doesn't have to be anything monumental, it doesn't have to be a monumental change necessarily to get to that healthy lifestyle. And I love that because people look at, individual small changes and they say, oh, I can do that, but they might look at a big change or a collection of changes and say, there's no way. So is that something that you have found with over the years, just of experience, that maybe in the past providers have tried to say you need to do this, this, and 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 then people say, well, there's no way I can do it. Is that something that's kind of a change in the industry?
Actually, that's very true.
Yeah.
I'll see people who have seen different dietitians in the past or different providers, and they usually get the typical, here's a big handout.
Yes.
And
here's the binder.
One guy actually just showed, I saw him, and he said, the last time I saw somebody, I basically took that stuff and I threw it on the floor in my truck.
Yeah.
It was just so overwhelming, and it was just so much information. So again, the glory of this program, we get to do individual together. We spend time. I see people 1 week, our personal trainer see them the next week, and on the week that I don't see them, I make a phone call.
Yeah.
So they're getting the support of, how's it going?
Right.
Actually, I called one gentleman yesterday, and I have them record some of their intake, so we can kind of keep a running tally how they're doing. Not that they're on a set calorie level, because I don't want them counting calories. I don't want them, oh, you have to be a certain point of this. Ballpark, and kind of let's see where people map out.
Right.
And he hadn't filled out his thing, and then he had an inkling I was going to call, and he said, okay, I'm honest, I filled it out last night,
Yeah.
you know, but I'm holding him kind of accountable.
Right, yeah.
And again, like what you had talked with Jackie was holding each other accountable. And so my phone call kind of supports him, but also holds him a little accountable.
Right.
And so they're getting the individualized care kind of from myself, from our personal trainer, and then that support from all of us, which we want to make those little changes that make
Right.
up for your life.
Right.
And you know, it makes you feel really good when people come in. I'm like, well, how was your week? And my first question is, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Because the goal of this is you also have to feel good
Right.
just overall, just when you're at work and you're sitting there like, man, I'm having a good day.
Right.
I feel good.
Right.
And that's part of this also.
Right. And I think that's so interesting because I've often heard people say, oh, I'm going to eat this donut because, you know, I don't care if I die young. I just want to be happy now. But the problem is that you may not be an instantaneous, I'm here, I'm feeling good, and then now I'm dead. It may be something that happens gradually where you start getting sicker and sicker and sicker
Right.
and sicker. And so to kind of head that off at the pass, so to speak, I think that's kind of what this program kind of helps
Right.
to do.
Well, and part of the things, I mean, you think about, you know, as a younger gentleman, I'm sure you're just like, well, I can eat all the chips and sodas and all this stuff. You
Oh,
know?
heck yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden as we age, our metabolism changes, and you go, ooh, where did that weight come from? Or
Right.
I can't go out and bike 50 miles or, you
Right.
know, whatever people like to do. And, you know, all of a sudden it starts hitting people like, oh, where did that weight, how am I going to get this off? And
Right.
they've developed habits over the course of their
Yeah.
life, and it's those habits that's the tough part to change.
Right.
You know, I grew up in a family where you had dessert every night.
Yep.
You know, my mom,
Same here.
home ec teacher, oh,
Yep.
she could cook.
She could cook.
And, you know, and then you kind of go, wait, I can't have those desserts every night,
Right.
you know. And again, but it's changing my habits.
Right, yeah. And I think also the serving size probably might be an issue for me as well. So we just have a few seconds left, but I want to make sure that we cover this. How would you say that this program is different from other programs that maybe promote a fat weight loss, like a rapid weight loss?
Well, again, I had mentioned earlier, like people will, you know, go on the different diets that they find on the internet, or sometimes providers give them, and they lose this weight. Great, I lost 50 pounds in X amount of time. That's wonderful, but they went on this diet that's just a short time, and
Right.
but they changed nothing else. So as soon as they go back to, okay, I'm done with my diet, I lost my 50 pounds, they go right back to what they were eating. They
course.
put on that and more. So again, they didn't learn anything or it didn't change anything that they're going to sustain themselves the rest of their life.
Yeah, that's not a sustainable option.
Right,
So,
right.
Nola, Andrus, thank you so much for
You're
being
welcome.
here with
Thank
us
you.
today. We're out of time. I wish we had a whole other segment to kind of keep discussing,
you.
but maybe we'll have you back.
Thank you.
So this is all for our show, Wisconsin Doctors Today, from all of us here at Upland Hills Health. By the way, if you're looking for more information, log on to their website or call the number on your screen. And from all of us here, we encourage you to live longer, live healthier, and live better. We'll see you next time.